The title of the message today is Going the Second Mile. Going the Second Mile. And this is what the scriptures we're talking about is Jesus when he's explaining how to bridge the gap. You guys have seen what's happening in terms of the millennials and the younger people that are marching, and I also saw the funeral yesterday, not the whole thing, but the funeral. And one of the things that Al Sharpton said that was so powerful was he said that he was talking about that there was which we saw, there was a good mix of people from everybody, literally all over the world that's happening, but a good mix of people. But what that tells you is the seeds that were planted. And I thought we have done something right, even though with all that's wrong, we did something right where the millennials, the I call them babies because they're only in their 20s, but they are young people, young and old people, but something communicated, something was right, something happened where they could dig up that old well and immediately go back into a sense of understanding. I saw different nationalities all over just Americans in general carrying signs, and they internalized the issue. So it was not just them. It was not those people. It was them. So that was the blessing. It was wonderful. You saw people coming together in love. Police officers hugging marchers and marchers of all nationalities coming out from everywhere. Wonderful beginning. So if you remember last week, and you guys you write it down so that what is today? Today is the 5th. Last week, whenever we talked about or maybe it was this week when we first talked about what Aaron's robe, and then we talked about the offering. What I'm going to tell you today is, and I'm going to explain two things so that you can understand the magnitude of what's happening. I did not know when we talked about the Aaron's robe. I didn't know what God was going to do. He pushed for the offering, and I didn't know why, but he pushed for the offering. The next day, I got some information which I will be able to share, and I thought, wow. So he said, get ready, and then he blessed. So I have the information, and I'm going to tell you what it is, so you can see how powerful it is, and then. I'm also going to tell you about another thing he already had discussed, but he gave that information and gave you an opportunity, and so I didn't know what it all was, but I wanted to. When he tells you it's a last push, it's a last opportunity, you have to listen, because you don't. Sometimes God passes through and says, if you come along. If you're not, it's a dividing. Okay, here it is. Remember we talked about that, those that go all the way in, and then there's those that watch the ones go all the way in. This is what's happening right now. So what I'm explaining to you is an opportunity, and I don't want to ever mention it again if I don't have to, because that's not, for me, that's not the point of the prayer line. But at the same time, you've been on the call, you've been participating this long, so you have an opportunity to participate. And once we go to the next level, I can't come back and say, oh, it's changed. Once it leaves where it is now and goes to the next level, you'll be just like the regular public. You won't have an opportunity for me to show you what's in the nest, what's in the eggs. So I'm showing you that now. So I want you to, if it's in any way possible, just like Elijah told the lady, go borrow baskets to put the oil in. So and she did it. She borrowed the baskets to put the oil in so she could be a part of it. So said all that to say, what's happening now, all the timing of this, the reason I'm explaining is, you remember how powerful that call we had back, I think it was Monday, and we were talking about it, and then Melody started talking about the blessing. and she started talking about its other ones have gotten blessed tremendously, but she started talking about the blessing. And then there was so what we have now is we're about to go. I'm going to tell you what it is, and then I want to tell you so that there will be no way that at any point in the future I myself did not explain what's happening, so you can know that it's my best intention to help to give you an opportunity to participate. That's what I'm trying to do. What's happening here? If you knew the push that the Lord was giving me to tell you to participate with whatever it is you have to participate. And some of you operate in fear. So if you think that you're going to be able to sit and wait and then try to jump, it's not going to be like that. You have to go when God says go. And because when He opens, you don't know how fast the process will go. It could be today, and then tomorrow everything can change. In a day, everything can change. And I wouldn't even be able to legally communicate with you about it because that's how serious it would be. So that's why I'm explaining to you now. This, if you were talking to Frank Zuckerberg and he was sitting here telling you, and it would sound just as ridiculous as because it's an idea, but you know me. I'm talking about ideas. As much as I tell you about ideas and I talk about it, if I'm telling you about something, you should listen to what I'm explaining to you. So if he were to say, I'm going to do this company, and it just came up on the screen, right? And Facebook just showed up on the screen right now, and I'm talking about it. Confirmation. And he said, I'm gonna do this company, and people are gonna be able to connect, and da 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 da, and they're gonna be able, and I'm gonna do it with college students, millennials, and they're younger than millennials, and they'll be able to come together and click and communicate with each other. And then somebody would go, well, that sounds okay. I'll see how it goes. Sometimes you can't catch an idea. It runs down the street and it's done and it's gone. But sometimes God gives you a heads up, early warning, or He gives you an opportunity. So that's what I'm explaining to you now. I'm going to also explain two things so you can really understand what's going on. And however, pray about it, but treat it like what it is, a once in a lifetime opportunity. Look at what's happening in the environment and treat it like what it is. And if you have any way of participating and getting it, this is the time to do it. I can't tell you what will happen in the next 5 days and next 30 days. I have no way of knowing, but I can tell you that the timing, I didn't have the last piece of this before God told me to tell you to participate. It was a way this happened, is what I'm explaining. He said it. He said, ask him. And we've been talking about going in. We've been talking about Aaron, and we've been talking about change. So let me go back and explain. I'm trying to explain two ideas, but I'm explaining this one that is. I'm going to tell you one of the past, and I'm going to explain what's happening right now. God is the whole purpose. Technology, science, ideas, programming. God is in charge of all of that. He's in charge of new ideas. He's the one that gives you the ability to get gain. He's the one that comes in and says, do it this way, or you'll just wake up and the thing will be dropped in your brain and it'll all be together. The thing about it is, what I have been telling you guys for a long time is getting it from your mind to the shelf, getting it. And you've seen the spiritual warfare. You've seen all the processional stuff that happens before a blessing drops. And you don't. And Vivian, you mentioned to me about your pastor before. Send me an email. I will send her a package so she can know what we're doing. But reason I'm explaining it to you, I don't want to miss anybody that has said marginally that they wanted to participate. But just imagine if you were talking to Frank Zuckerberg and he said, I'm going to do a company. And then what would you do? Well, how far would you go with it? Would you be all in, or would you go like, well, I'm just going to, you can't do, because those ideas don't happen all the time, every time. And for me, you have heard God speak through me many, many, many times, and the timing of how He has spoken through me many times. There's one idea I'm going to tell you about it called RohiJehovah, and you might not understand all of it, but it's relational object oriented information. So what it will be able to do is look at very high. I'm just going to summarize it. I'm not going to try to go in a bunch of detail, but it'll be able to look at high volumes of data through pictures and colors, and you'll be able to read data differently than code by word. You'll be able to read it by color. Now, let me explain why I can explain to you that God is how wonderful he is, because I myself have a complete understanding, and it's just now coming up on the screen in terms of up in the world about cognitive recognition and data and the quantities of data and how your brain works. I knew this back before 2000, not 2020. I had this information 20 years ago. We didn't have a system to run the information. And when I got the information, I got complete information. I know how intelligence is in the cellular level. I understand how cells connect and pull. Don't ask me how I know it. I just understand it. How cells connect, and that intelligence rests inside of the cell and not in the person. Every time we try to imitate a human, that's not how you do it. You do it through cellular intelligence and how the cells adapt. And so he took that information and explained to me how you create how a system becomes intelligent. So this is why it sounds bizarre, but it's not. When we first pulled the patent together for this, we had attorneys, accountants, etc. Everybody came together, understood it. Professors understood it. I was going to do my PhD on that. He said, you'll be writing forever. It's too complicated, but he understood it. And it is a brilliant idea. Will be in the future. It's not now. But what people will be able to do is look at a cluster of cells, which can be cubes, and almost like it's called RohiJehovah, but it's like a Rubik's cube. And it'll be able to give you specific information from several databases and present it inside of a picture. So instead of reading 50 pages of data, you look at one picture of a moving, living picture of live data, and you will be able to understand it. And it will sit right on your screen, and sit on your phone, and sit on your tablet, and you'll be able to see several pieces of data, and it's going to tell you, and you'll be able to create intelligent clusters of data. Now, I did this back in 2000. There's no way in the world that this is something that God has just been gifting in long time, been doing it. And it makes total sense. And I could put it together out of memory. It's like a download sitting in the back of my head that you could, I can see the whole thing functioning, and it functions, and it will work. And it'll be the next type of math that will be able to take people into the next realm of science. There's math that we can't do right now to get to advance in certain areas. This type of hyper analysis of data will help humans, us, start to move in a different realm of science, because we now can see data. Instead of being exact numbers, we start to grasp entire concepts of numbers. I don't know if this is making sense to you guys, but that's one piece. See down that conversation, breaking down in cognitive understanding, how cells work, how information works. We could hold that conversation with anybody at any level of science that would understand it. Looking at me as a little black woman, how do you know that information? God dropped the whole thing. I was writing. I have volumes writing on it, and it's there, and it's just sitting there because the time has not come yet. But when it's time to come, it'll drop. So today, when I'm telling you about this thing right here, you need to listen to what I'm telling you. You know my personality. You know that I'm real aggressive in terms of not being afraid to talk to anybody. When the thing is ready, I will walk it in wherever it needs to go. That's why he gave it to me, because I will take it where it needs to go. This is the processes. We have ETM media. We're going to be doing interactive media. Got the last piece a couple days ago. Right after he talked about Aaron, and right after he talked about walking it in, and right after he told me to tell you guys to donate, to give, to buy the stock, however you got to do it. Because it will not be like those 5 foolish virgins and the 5 ones that were ready. The 5 foolish virgins were like, give me some of your oil. You're going to be telling somebody, give me some of your stock. And they're going to say, no, this is my life-changing experience. You got warned just like everybody else. That's why I'm taking the time to tell you. I'm pleading with you. Okay, let me back up. Let me explain why I don't need your money, but you need to be a part of this. Is because the person we have on the magazine cover that's publishing right now is Kat Taylor. She's Tom Snyder's wife. They're billionaires, but one billionaire knows other billionaires. No biggie. We were talking about billionaires last year. She's on the cover. They're looking to give away money. With the software that I'm talking about right now will help with all they're doing. That's a phone call. We're going to be working with her. She's writing for the magazine. Now, how did God get me in company with billionaires? Just with a very short, he's positioning. So when people get involved and they go, I got the idea, I really like it, it explodes. It's not like I can call and say, oh, I got another person. I'm not going to pick up the phone. I'm not going to do nothing. This is going to take on a momentum of its own that I will not be in charge of, and you will never be able to catch it. All somebody has to do, I want to buy 30% of your company and lock it down, and it'll be millions of dollars. It's not, ultimately, this idea I have right now, it's $1 billion company, billions. And I know this because let me explain it again. Before I did all this stuff and was doing the science and the technology and all this other stuff that we're doing, I was a stockbroker for 20-something years. I understand how to put companies together. I understand what people are looking for in order to say this, this, and this. I understand how you make an explosion, how you chemically in the financial world put the new idea with the this, with the that, and you mix it all together and the thing explodes. What I'm explaining to you is that look at the timing and look at what I've been telling you. And I have not come into this situation for a joke. God has got me here for a reason. I'm scared of it. I know how explosive it is. I'm trying to make sure everything is in place so that when we couldn't plug this thing in the wall, that it's going to light up. That's what I'm doing. So when I say, and let me explain what it is. And I don't know why they missed it. Just like when I was looking at Rojix, I was like, why didn't everybody miss this? It's right here. It looks obvious until it's blind until somebody catches it and somebody does it. And sometimes when people are really close to you, you assume that it's not true. But you're talking to me. You've heard from me talk about what God thus saith the Lord more than once. Like I can't even count how many times. I'm showing up here every morning at 7 a.m. And I don't know when you'll get this close to something this powerful again. And I am not telling you I don't have to actually, the fact that I have access to the people that I have access to, I don't have to ask you for your money. God's trying to bless you with a life-changing experience. He's trying to get you on board to something that you will never, maybe you will, I don't know. But for such a time as this, you're here right now. So let me finish telling you what the idea is. I've been talking about expansion in the brain forever, because if you can't perceive it, you won't participate. But I'm explaining to you, God loves you. He wants you to have a part of it. That's why he's telling you to plant. Because if you don't plant, it's just like the guy said, Lord, I want to win the lottery. I want to win the lottery. I want to win the lottery. Praying. And the Lord responded to him, okay, please buy a ticket. How are you going to win the lottery? You don't even buy a ticket. You're not even in it to get a part of it. And don't come up, well, do the best you can. But pray with all your heart. And don't come up here talking about, for your own benefit, life-changing experience. Participate. Get involved and participate. Life-changing experience. Okay, this is what it is. We have ET media. We're going to call it's interactive media. I told you that before. So I was sitting here, I think it was 2 days ago, and I woke up because that's when I usually get my information. I woke up and it said interactive media, just that only. Not we have a whole bunch of stuff. We have the magazines, the channels, and all that, but that one word, interactive media. Now, think about all these thousands of millennials that are walking around. They work on their cell phones. They don't get out so much on their computers. They work on their cell phones and they move. They don't move like, think about it, talk about it. No, they go, okay, good idea, click, done. So, and I will send you if you want the link. We have videos and everything, all kinds. We've been making marketing material for a while, but the point is, think about it. Right now, this is my sales spiel that I tell people, but really look at what you're seeing on TV and think about this. Media tells you something. It comes from the screen into your eyeballs, and you don't have the opportunity to respond. It comes off the screen into your eyeballs, and it's to inform and entertain you. They'll even hype up the news to keep you on the screen because they're only thinking about those advertising dollars and how much time you spend looking at the television. That's what it's old. It's an old system. ABC, NBC, and CBS, they built this infrastructure 30, 40, 50 years ago. They didn't know about interactive media. They didn't know about social media. They didn't know all that was coming. So they're working with an old infrastructure. They have reporters. Everything is output, output, output. The time has changed. The best time to get somebody to do something, I say this all the time, I don't know how many times in a day. The best time to get somebody to do something is when you first tell them the news. So when you first give them the news, if on that same platform, they can say, I want to sign the petition. I want to donate. I want to join the organization. I want more information. I want to start a conversation. I want to share this with my friends. Interactive, not Facebook where you just see Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter. That conversation is within your own group of people. We're talking about millions of people converging on a single idea and clicking to take an action. They just moved something. They caused change. And it happened right when they got the information. That's what we're talking about, interactive media. I'm not talking about people talking to their own little social groups. I'm talking about masses of people coming together on a single idea, getting adequate information, and having the ability to make very civil, well thought out choices on how to make a change. Now you have government that is interactive. You have change. Now, imagine if this software was in the hands of all those people while they're talking, what kind of buttons they'd be clicking right now. That's it. Interactive media. ETM Media is the next phase of media platforms. And what we do is give you opportunity instead of inform, and entertain. We have inform, entertain, engage, and interact. We take it to the next level. We are the next phase of media platforms. You are talking to the process. And I'm not going to just tell this to you guys. The lady that I'm talking to and several more like her, that's who's getting ready to get this. My writers are maybe 10% of them are black. Everybody else is from all over the world. I talk to you guys, but they're from all over the world. I'm not just talking to black people. I'm talking to green, purple, orange, and white people and brown people, everybody. Good idea out there. We really like it. I see it. So I'm telling you, I'm trying to lay it straight out. Write it down. Today is June 5th. You were told. Do not say I don't. I'm trying to catch up. I'm trying to find out. He has given everybody ample time, and God is the one that's going to direct the actions. God's the one that's going to bringing in the writers. He's the one that's going to bring in the problem solvers. That's what we're talking about, activation on the churches. This is all moving. He's dealing from the spirit realm. He's also dealing from the technology realm. He's also doing some stuff. This is changing. The world has changed. This is going to happen. Just like I told you this, and I told you about Rogix, that thing, that incredible software that's coming out. I don't know how, why, or when. I don't know how I understand that information. But when I tell you that I can look into a system, and I saw the Apple Pad before it came out. I knew about screened computers when they were still using them on those the stack of Photron cards that were going into this big old computer. I knew I could see the screen before that, and sure enough, it popped out. So when I tell you I can see it. And when I understand it, I understand it. You might have to tag along for a minute, but don't lose your position. Somebody said yesterday, don't lose your position. I'm telling you right now, as plainly stated as I can tell you, so that you cannot come back and ask nobody else on the prayer line, did you buy any stock? Because nobody should be coming up off of it. Lock your position in, because this thing is hitting the road. I did not know that one word that doesn't exist in any. I was able to get the domain name that to tell you how good it does not exist. Nobody's thought about it. They're so busy making money, trying to push out advertisements. They didn't realize that the industry has changed and the infrastructure to the industry has changed. We have built our infrastructure based on the new interactive media platform. We work with writers, we work with professionals that are doing it. If we're writing an article about heart disease, it is written by a heart doctor. If it's an article about yoga, it is written by a yoga instructor. If it's an article about technology, it's the expert that's talking about it. Because when you have a journalist goes from article to article to article. A professional, committed person, committed to the vision, committed to their curriculum, committed to their idea, committed to the advocacy of whatever it is that they're doing. I'm going to talk about advocacy in a minute. Because, see, I've been talking about action. I'm all telling you, been telling you forever, action, action, action. I am not about sitting up there preaching and talking and then, oh, isn't that a good old sermon, and then going home back. I'm not that. I am for change, movement. And so here, we're working with practitioners and people that are knowing what they're doing, and so that when it's time to interact, you have professionals or an entire organization that says, we want to change world hunger. These are the steps we need to take. And that's what an interactive article is. You can take an action, and mass moves ideas. And you can have a whole bunch of people just doing a click, a little bit, and they will make a big difference. But that's handled by a professional. The writers are people that know what they're talking about, that know what they're doing. And they have thought through it. And there may be cases where they go off and have conversations and have forums. But we're talking about professors. We're talking about professionals. We're talking about advocates that need to have a change. They come together, brilliant minds come together and think about how to make a thing better. But then you have to have action by the masses of people have to say, yes, we understand that. Click, we want to do it. That brings you out. That's without knowledge of people perish. This is putting knowledge back into the process. Thinking, doing, moving. You cannot be closed eyes, and you cannot be blind and dumb and stay free. You won't stay free. You will be part of a system that's managing you. But this is part of that process. So now I'm telling you this. It totally makes sense. I know it makes sense because it's every time I talk about it, it goes poof. People hear it and go, "Wow, good idea. I like that. I'm going to be a part of it." I've never had a phone call where somebody says, "Oh, I don't like." Every single one, 100%. So now we're putting it on. We're ramping it up. Automated systems, just like the podcast systems. You self-join. Everything will be automated. So we can handle millions and millions of people. That's it. That's the idea. So I'm just telling you because I want to make sure, plainly stated, as with a crayon on the chalkboard, with chalk on the chalkboard, as plainly stated as I can explain it to you. If you're afraid, don't worry about it because it's going to pass you by. But if you're not afraid, and if you believe God, and you've been on this prayer line, you see what has been happening. And you guys have been a part of it because the prayers is what's been helping to push things through. We had to have the prayer foundation to move this along. We had to have it. So that's all I'm going to tell you on that part. And I will, yep. Thank you, Lori. You totally get it. Okay. Yes. So to get you to understand what God is actually doing. Yep, Lori, that is how language started. Anyway, we'll talk about. There's a whole science behind. This is the thing when God gives you information. There's the when I was talking about Rojics. There's a whole science behind object-oriented learning and how your brain picks up information. So there, and I didn't know this. This is something that I confirmed in textbooks, but God told me first. Okay, and now let me say this. When I was doing Rojics, and it's relational object or interactive. I can't remember what all ROGIC. When this first started, I was taking classes at Claremont with Pete. I was doing a double master's in MBA and management of information systems, management of science and information systems. And I was in, but Peter Drucker didn't know that I was in his class. This is what I'm explaining to you. I was designing that thing. That was designed and the patent was pinned. All that stuff was done, but nobody knew that. Nobody knew. The people in the business school did not know I was doing a master's in the information science school. And information science school people did not know I was doing a master's over there. I was the first one at Claremont to do a double master's in those two major fields. And when I got to the class, and I told you I sat in the back. Well, let me back up. That whole day I had a feeling something is happening on. I felt that God was around me in my presence, but I didn't know where. I just could feel him moving. I knew something was up. I had that feeling in my stomach. I just, something's getting ready. Something's going on. I don't know what it is, but I was on alert. And I got to class late, and I sat in the back of the class, and now this is going to even make more sense than ever before. But I got to the back of the class. I sat in the back of the class, and Peter Drucker was talking about expert systems and some other stuff. And then he says, tomorrow, because this was a Friday, Saturday class, he said, tomorrow morning, we're going to open the class up talking about expert systems. There's nobody in that whole room, and that whole school knew more about expert systems than I did, because I just got a download for a system that's not even in production yet, that it would be so I would have had to have several PhDs to try to explain that. God dropped the whole thing in great detail. And so then he said, we're going to talk about expert systems, and I want you to open up my class. And that's when he pointed to the back of the room. That's when all those kids parted the Red Sea, and he was stuck looking at me. And I was like, oh, my God, oh, my God. And then he said, I perceive that you understand what I am talking about. He perceived from where he was sitting at 90-something years old with a hearing aid and a microphone and big old thick glasses, picked me out the back of the room and knew I knew about it, because he was right. I did know about it, and I was probably the only person in the whole campus. I don't even know who in the world understood this stuff better. And I came and I taught it that next day about expert systems in very generic terms. And that's when I tell you he was picking up on what I was talking about without me opening my mouth, it was all in me. It was all over the process was all over me. And he picked up on it. That's the power of God. When it's time for people to find you, I was in the back of the room, and he picked me from the back of the room and pulled out and called out the truth. That's Peter Drucker. You guys should all know who he is as a guru in business. And he was highly perceptive. I don't know what kind of a brain he was in. He was when they were in General Motors and all these basic big blue company stocks were starting. Peter Drucker was in some of those board meetings, and he knew not only knows the history of some of America's greatest companies. He was in the boardrooms when they were talking about it, and he's brilliant. And he that confirmation beyond words that he knew who I was. And I went in the bathroom and I cried like a baby, because God was telling me, I see you. And he saw you. I caused him to see you and to understand the gift I gave you. This is what I'm explaining to you. I am humble beyond humble. I'm not trying to run up in nothing, but I'm just trying to explain to you. You are witnessing something happening, and it's happening. So God bless you. That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to read our scriptures. And we'll be done very shortly. Yes.
I just wanted to let you know I have a thing. Gurus like Peter Drucker who were Christians. I'd done a study on them, and the one thing that I have on him. The little clip that I have about him says that while Drucker may have been Ronald Reagan-like in that he was not one to publicly declare his religious beliefs, from his famous humility to his desire to make a difference in people's lives, clearly Peter Drucker's Christian faith was a guiding source of truth in his life and work.
Yes, and God spoke to him for sure. And somebody, thank you, Lori, because he is. He was a very wise, brilliant man. He's iconic in the business management. He has a Drucker School of Management, which is one of the top 25 business schools in the country. On the West Coast, we don't have schools like we do on the East Coast, but yep, he is. And Gloria is saying, is this the same shareholders? Yes, this is whoever was buying stock in ET Media. This is that same thing. All I'm telling you is that we were supposed to hold it for 12 months to 18 months. I'm explaining to you that all this little group that we're working with now will not be the next group that comes in. They're going to be buying up a percentage. It's not going to be the same program. They're going to be talking about it, and the only way you'll be able to buy it is to buy it through private placement or to buy it through the stock market, because we will be doing that as well. So if you got more, if you want to, I'm telling you, because this interactive thing is getting ready to hit the air. I'm actually going to be, this is going to be going up on our website. We're bringing on writers. We are doing interactive media now. We're doing it. We're moving to that next place. And Kat Taylor, like I said, she's on our cover. She has not come into our lives for no particular funny okie dokie reason. I'm just telling you, there's a gasoline, there's the match, there's the wood. Now you can figure it out if you want to, but that's all I'm saying. Okay, thank you, Lori, for that information, because you totally know what I'm talking about. Okay, so let's go ahead and read our scriptures. And on the scriptures, going the second mile, this is the reason that we're talking about this, is God is activating himself. If you we've been talking about the churches and getting them mobilized and getting people, the writers that we're picking. Okay, here's another thing. The writers that we're picking are priests and kings. They're going to be able to go into the presence of God, and then they're going to be experts on a system. God wants to get in the systems. He wants to get in the educational system. He wants to stand in it, not pass by it. Stand in the educational system. Stand in the governing of the prison systems, in the governing of these systems. The only way he's going to get into the governing of these systems, if you have people that can hear from God and have an expert understanding on the technical terms of this thing called Earth Realm. They have to have both. That's who we're bringing on as writers. We're not bringing off people off the street. God's picking the writers. They're coming in already knowing what they're going to be doing, and they're going to come in and tell. This is why I told you. This is a God thing. You guys see the pieces coming together. Priest and king. We've been talking about priests. We've been talking about Aaron today, this week. Hey, look. Open your eyes, see what God is doing. Okay, let's go. I'm going to keep moving over to, and what I'm telling you is, however, this is a life-changing process. And if you don't test me, ask God. Ask him. You don't have to. You've seen the attack we have been under. You saw what happened. Shantae is my number one person in terms of operation. You saw what just happened to her son. We have been people, different ones have been under attack. You don't come under attack for no reason. We've been pressing through. I've been under attack for the last few years. But it's not for no reason. God is coming out with something, and he can trust me with the information. That's why it's happening. And have a warrior spirit for real to go in and make a difference. And he has given me a big, and you remember the vision about the angel and the $1 trillion bill. Just think about all the things that have been happening. Just prophecy, confirmation, and prophecy and confirmation. Though the vision tarry, wait for it. This has all been coming together. This is just one thing. So there we go. I'm not going to dwell on it no more. Get your face before God and ask him, Lord, send me the money to put into this, because it will be life changing. Just let me attach myself in a big bodacious way so that I can be a hold of this. You can see, we have been doing this for a minute. That's all I'm saying. I'm gonna leave it alone. Okay, so anyway, going back. Okay, yeah. Okay, so where to plant the seeds? You just text me if you're interested. Text me, and I will talk to you to find out how much you're doing, and then I'll give you the information. So that because I'm not begging people. I'm just telling you about it. And so text me if you're interested, and just really pray about it and try to figure it out. Try to figure out how to participate to your best effort, because the reason I'm saying that is later on I can't, once somebody larger gets involved, I can't turn around and give it for the price that I'm giving it at and gift it to you for the price I'm gifting it at. I can't do it then because it's illegal. They once they get involved, and just imagine millennials see this software, great idea, how does it work? Okay, and they start, just imagine the convergence, and imagine it'll be $5 today, and it'll be $100 something, whatever. I don't know pricing. I'm not telling you that, but just imagine that you don't know how it will work. Just imagine. So pay attention, and just you have seen me. So all I want to do is give you the opportunity, but you have seen me here, so you know me. So that's all I'm saying. You've heard God speak through me multiple times.